It's Seth Jones, Editor-in-Chief of Golfdom Magazine. Today I'm being joined by Dr. Rich Hurley. Doc Hurley, thanks for taking the time to chat with me today.
Well, thank you for inviting me for this interview. And I like your magazine, and I love golf, all aspects of golf. So this should be fun.
Great. And I should mention also, thank you for writing. We have Doc Hurley has written a story for the new issue of the magazine, which will be out soon. And we thought it'd be fun to chat with him. But Doc Hurley, talk to me a little bit about you go back on your resume and in your almost 40 years of working in the game of golf now. Can you talk to me kind of what was the starting point for you when you realized you were going to go on this journey where you started collecting these, just collecting grasses, and can you go back to those early days, and did you think that where you got to, was that the end goal of what you guys did, or back then were you just trying to find a better way to make a golf green?
Well, my love of golf and turf started early. I'm from New Jersey, and I grew up along what we call the Jersey Shore, near a town called Asbury Park. And so I learned to play golf when I was 12 years old. My parents lived right across from the golf course. It was called the Asbury Park Golf and Country Club. Today, the golf course is called Shark River Golf Club. But that's where I started. And so when I went to college, turf was right there. I went to the University of Rhode Island and majored in turf. And I was very fortunate that Dr. Richard Hurley was the turf professor at that time. And he had a love of bentgrasses. And so I was introduced to bentgrasses in college. And I remember vividly, he used to go on collection trips, Dr. Hurley did, and he would collect bentgrasses from older golf courses in New England and bring them back. And I would separate out the velvet bents from the colonials and the creepers. So, I was probably maybe 20 years old at that time. And I finished up my undergraduate and then went on for my master's degree at the University of Rhode Island in turf. So turf has been all my life. So it really started when I was 12, and then going to college, I knew what I wanted to do right away.
So one of the things you wrote about in the magazine was about, and my readers, I think, obviously, who's reading Golfdom and who gets it, but I thought it was interesting when you mentioned that something about how these improved bentgrasses aren't just, it's not just for good looks, it's for the back of the house stuff too. And I do think that's something that the superintendents might have a hard time communicating with their memberships, with their greens committees and whatnot. What would you say to someone just about about how the new, just brag to me for a little bit about how good these grasses are, not just for playability, but for also on the back end?
Well, the first thing that everybody should be aware of is that these things just didn't come out of a hat. These have been 40 years in the making. And with the tools that we have today and the knowledge that we have about breeding, these are really advanced generation materials, and the process has been refined, that this just didn't happen overnight. The newer varieties like the 007 XL is the result of 40 years of work, and the ability of, we talk about genes and inserting genes for disease resistance. It's a whole series of historical work and understanding. First, you have to understand the species, creeping bentgrass, and you have to understand its breeding behavior, but it goes beyond that. You have to understand the diseases like a brown patch and dollar spot and anthracnose. We know that there is genetic resistance to them, and we identify plants that have natural resistance, and then we can breed those genes into the varieties to give genetic resistance. Because you've got golf courses that are spending 50, 75, 100,000 or more on fungicides a year. And if you can come up with varieties that are resistant to those diseases, well, you're going to save a lot of money, more environmentally friendly. But I don't think the average golfer understands the tremendous effort that has to go into developing enhanced variety. The historical on putting green speed. Anybody that was in the business, say 40 years ago, the putting green speed was very slow. You're talking a lot of the major championships, maybe 9 on the stimp meter at best. And that these modern grasses, the newest materials, they can take the closest of cutting height. Because just think about it, they're cutting at, say, 0.105 or lower of an inch. You know, that's just like a razor. The latest varieties can handle that, where the older varieties can't take those low height of cut.
Absolutely. Doc, one of the things I thought was real nice about your piece too is you seem to be quick to talk, you talk about it doesn't happen overnight, but you're also quick to talk about the group of people who have helped you along the years. What's it been like to the collaborations you've had over the years? How many, I mean, I would just imagine that there's been a lot of folks who have crossed your path, who have added their, help to your project. Can you talk about like just the scope of people you've worked with over the years?
Well, at Rutgers, it's Dr. Reed Funk. I was very fortunate that he was my major professor. Dr. Funk was a true genius in what he did in breeding. And he developed the protocols and the processes that are really followed today. Dr. Stacy Bonus, who has taken over the turfgrass breeding program at Rutgers, she also received her Ph.D. at Rutgers and in turf breeding with Dr. Funk. Dr. Bill Meyer, he shepherded the program at Rutgers for 25 years. Bill really continued what Dr. Funk had put into motion when Dr. Funk retired in '96. Dr. Bruce Clark, Dr. Jim Murphy, Dr. Bing-Ru Wong, these are all individuals that really have made the program. And at Rutgers, there's really there's no vanity. I mean, they are down to earth people. They collaborate well. They communicate well. Where you've got a pathologist that works with the breeder and the management specialist. So it's really a team effort, and it's a family. There are technicians there that have been there since high school in one case and early 20s in another case. And these technicians, even though they have, say, a high school or maybe a bachelor's degree, they understand the process and the protocol as well as anybody. So it's the backup staff that is impressive. Rutgers has tremendous depth in the program, and it really can't be matched. The ability to go from generation to generation, that when Dr. Funk retired, it's just like in football, when a coach retires, how can you keep the program going at the same level? And it doesn't happen all the time. Mm-hmm. And so we've gone through 3 different generations of individuals and kept the same high standards.
Well, Doc, those are my questions. I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me today. And again, thank you for that story for the magazine. Once again, this is Doc Hurley. Check out his story in the new issue of Golfdom. I'm Seth Jones. Thanks for watching us here on Golfdom TV. Thanks, Doc.
Thank you.